Okay. All right, we're live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Today's topic is, should I travel without a US passport? Now, this is specifically if you're considering to travel outside of the US. Now, this is a scenario that one of our clients just went through that they had an oath ceremony scheduled for last week. And come to find out, just the timing of things, they had to go travel to, I believe it was somewhere in Europe. And if they had traveled, the travel date was actually, I think, 1 or 2 days after the oath ceremony. And this is why it's important. Because at the oath ceremony, they take away your resident card. So if they take away your resident card, you basically have no proof, okay, that you're have any kind of status. Sure, you could provide or take with you like your naturalization certificate, but if you look at the TSA website, at least coming back in, or even customs, they need a passport. So let's say you think about, okay, well, why not just use my foreign passport instead? Well, if you have foreign passport, then you need to show a resident card or a visa. So in this scenario, you wouldn't have either, actually. So the U.S. passport, I mean the other passport of the other country is not enough. And of course, the U.S. Department of State is the agency that helps process U.S. passport applications. But this client was literally leaving like the day or next day after the oath ceremony. So what we recommend, of course, other than, of course, applying for an expedite request for the processing of your U.S. passport, actually, client can't do that actually right now, right? But if your travel date was maybe 2 or 3 months later, then I would expedite it. But in this situation, we recommended to wait to go to avoid going to the oath ceremony. Allow us to help reschedule it, and you have to mail in the request. Okay, they need physical proof that you're asking for rescheduling. Do not just call in because they lose track of everything. These tier 1 agents with USCIS, every time a client has called, or even if it's not a client, they've called and said, I did this, I did that, I called in. It's different than for-profit companies. For-profit companies, you call in the hotline. At least, fortunately, the vendors will actually, these companies, the tier 1 representatives will actually submit the ticket request. With USCIS, man, there is no guarantee. Plus, on the bottom of the oath ceremony notice, either the bottom or in the middle, I can't remember exactly, it actually writes in there, it says, write to us if either write to us or mail us the rescheduling request, something to that extent. So when you read that, it does not mean call in. All right, because they want that physical proof. Now, of course, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting. I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America, helping you solve your immigration problem or maybe even prevent it from happening in the first place. You're welcome to drop in a question in the comment section or share your experience. A lot of this has to do with, part of this U.S. passport situation, oath ceremony. If you're not familiar, oath ceremony is after for the naturalization process to become a U.S. citizen. This is not for resident status, okay? If you're not as familiar with the terms, that's completely okay. That's why we're here. So, I hate that the client is in a situation, but hey, they get to go travel. I'm happy for them. But at the end of the day, if you, it's kind of confusing, with USCIS because, they are processing cases a lot faster. We've had cases, marriage adjustment status cases to U.S. citizen spouse, and even N-400 naturalization to become a U.S. citizen. We've had those cases more or less approved in about 3 months. I think N-400, we had a couple about maybe 2 months. That's pretty amazing. But whether you hire us or not, we cannot promise that for you, okay? It may depend on the field office, where you live, where you file your case. Well, where you file a case doesn't really matter because it's dependent on because where you file a case is dependent on where you live, the state, okay? But eventually it gets moved over to the next stage within USCIS. So what are they doing internally that somehow magically cases can be processed faster? I have no idea, but maybe, I do still know that they still they scan in everything. So if they're scanning in everything that you mail in, then they're using some kind of cloud-based storage software, right? But they've been doing this. They've been scanning for a long time. How is it all of a sudden that the Biden administration is able to process these cases faster? What I'm thinking is they want your vote. Maybe the Democratic Party wants your vote. Think about that, okay? Hey, whether or not they process your cases faster, you really need to look at what values you care about. It may seem a little, maybe it's too obvious to me which party has values that's for humans, everyone, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's important. But yeah, think about that, okay? I mean, President Obama could have sped up cases, could have, would have, should have, but President Trump, not so much. He actually stopped immigration. So you got to think about that, okay? Which kind of party cares about helping immigrants, helping people? But not every political person is the same. So let me get back to topic here. I feel bad that unfortunately a lot of people have been suffering delays for too long. Okay, we've had some people call us about N400, right? They filed about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and I'm here on live show talking about people being approved in about less than 3 months. I know it's frustrating to hear that if you've been waiting for a long time. So if you've been waiting a long time, some people call us to say, you know what, I've been waiting like 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and I don't think anything's wrong, but I figured I'd just give a call because I heard John or heard someone online say, or just something I read online say, like, I shouldn't be waiting this long. Yeah, you definitely should not. In fact, if it's been a year since you just filed, okay, we look at different stages of the case. So the first step is filed. Some people are delayed after filing, and they still haven't received the interview date. Some people have moved on to the next step, like all the way down to almost the last step, like they had the interview, and they were approved, conditionally approved. They had the page, I think they call it N14 or something, a little update. Yes, still need to speak with supervisor, or no, need a retest or something like that. Most people that call us, they pass the test, right? And I'm very happy for that. And then 120 days pass after the interview. The USCIS policy manual states that if you have still not received a decision after 120 days, file on federal action to district court. That means federal district court, where you file something called mandamus lawsuit. They have a cause of action specific to this for unreasonable delays. So don't think if you've been waiting, hey, Candy, what's going on? Candy 8080B, what's going on? Hey, by the way, if you have any questions, comments, welcome to drop it in the comment section. Happy to answer the best of my ability on the spot. I'm happy to share my screen if I need to for certain things. Let's see here, what else? But yeah, 120 days, and they've been waiting a long. I mean, you might think that's not too long compared to other people, but the USCIS policy manual states that you can file a lawsuit 120 days after your interview, and you still have not received a decision. Okay. Now the lawsuit cannot promise an approval. Okay, it cannot do that. That's not the outcome. I mean, that is what we prefer. That's what you prefer, but it cannot promise that. What the U.S. attorney is in, with private practitioners like myself, private attorneys who have our own law firm, we negotiate to see how soon you can receive the decision, or if it's a case abroad, how soon you can receive the issuance of a visa. And of course, in the meantime, hey, by the way, U.S. attorney, this case has been processing so long. Just want to triple check. Is there anything that the visa officer or USCIS officer needs? Is there a request for evidence? And then, okay, if not, let's push that to the side. Let's move on. Like, let's get the decision here, right? So in any of that conversation, we cannot ask for approval because that's not their job. That's not what they're trying to do. They're just trying to get you a decision. And sometimes before that decision, USCIS may issue like an RFE, request for evidence, or notice of intent to deny. In fact, we actually help many attorneys, many other law firms that are not certified in certain district courts to help them with these kind of cases. Okay. We collaborate with other attorneys across the country if necessary. And if it doesn't work out, we file in Washington, D.C. Okay. That court. We always try our best, if possible, to avoid filing that in that court because we understand that some attorneys don't want to get certification in other courts, so they just default file DC every single time. And what does that do? That creates a backlog of cases that U.S. attorneys have to get to. So it's a lot of strategy. Okay, I don't know why I look so close on YouTube. I need to back up a bit. Okay. What's up, Candy? You got a question? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, where are you watching from, Candy? Mellow Punk. JM is in Washington State. Okay. Hey, what's going on, Abraham? Good to see you. Hope you had a great trip. So let's see. Okay, you guys are shy today. But look, if you're in a different situation where I'm just gonna talk about different strategy here. In some ways, it's considered like a delay. You know, maybe you have a petition on file for you that's based on a family petition, family preference petition, for most specifically. Maybe you have a U.S. citizen parent to file for you, and you're an adult, whether you're single or married, and you have a petition filed for you, or even by your U.S. citizen brother or sister. F4 is the most popular in terms of being the freaking slowest. Okay, so if you're in any of these family preference categories, you might want to consider getting sponsored by a company in America. Or, some people always, the most common response back is, how do I find a job? We're going to come up with resources for you and find a way to share that so that you can try to find a job. Of course, you may have heard about the layoffs across the United States, most specifically about the tech industry. Because of the pandemic and the stock market just grew and grew, the tech industries just kept hiring, right? So, yeah, and a lot of people or a lot of companies in America are expecting a downturn. However, nonetheless, you still want to get in the practice of trying to find a company because, look, a lot of people in the F4 category are waiting like a decade at least. That's just the average wait time based on your U.S. citizen U.S. citizen sister or brother who had just filed a petition for you. So, and it's okay that you already had that filed on your behalf. But if, maybe by the time that you get work experience, get some initial work experience, or you graduate from college, then you can consider other options, maybe like H-1B. Now we have the USCIS only has 1 month, 2 weeks, roughly 2 to 3 weeks of registration period. And unfortunately, the default is that you have to file a registration to be selected in the lottery. They don't call it lottery anymore, but it's essentially a lottery. It's, as they say, random. So not based on your actual application. But if you get selected, anyway, it's in March. So, but there are scenarios where you can file it throughout the year, depending on the entity type of the organization. Okay, so or if you have roughly minimum 50,000 USD, and your country is one that's on a list for E2 or E visa treaty list. Maybe you haven't given it much thought as an entrepreneur or start up a company, but look, you're thinking, well, I got the money, but I'm not so much of a business person. We can talk about that. Okay, I've actually considered starting another segment on the Green Card Guys channel here to talk about business related, help people get over that hump, because even people in America, they're like, like a little hesitant. Even when I graduated law school, I went straight to start my own firm. I have entrepreneur background in that sense. So yeah, but not everyone has that experience or background. So completely understandable. There's a lot that y'all need to know. Okay, Candy, I think, yeah, Candy has a question for us. All right, folks, if you have any experience, please share as well. Okay, Candy filed for citizenship December 28th. Okay, about 4 months ago, a little less than 4 months. You received a letter that you don't need fingerprints. Okay, they can reuse it, right? Because um, USCIS reuses it for a good amount of people, and you had residence status, or you do. But until now, your case is still not updated that your fingerprint has been taken. Well, yeah, because I actually don't know. We'll have to check that for a recent case that could be in this stage, and I'll share with you tomorrow. Today's Monday. Sorry, sometimes I have to talk out loud like that. I can remember the days. Yeah, I'm not sure that they would actually update to say um, case reused biometrics. I don't think they have that stage. I could be wrong. I'd be pretty impressed if they were pretty specific about that. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that stage. Heck, I'd just be more concerned about getting it scheduled for an interview. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So yes, we've had cases approved in from filing N400 to the oath ceremony in 3 months. Pretty freaking amazing. That was unheard of, especially in the Trump administration, but also in the Obama administration. I don't know what it was like in George W. Bush, because I had just graduated law school, got my license when it was President Obama. Okay, so yeah, but I still saw a huge spectrum, regardless of political party, just how case of process. Even in President Obama, just a quick tangent, President Obama's administration, it wasn't that easy to contact USCIS. Still possible, way more possible than President Trump administration. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for the follow. By the way, if you enjoy the way we share information, I know I go on little tangents here and there, but please give us a follow. Smash the hearts, and if you're on YouTube and Facebook, please click the like button and subscribe down below so you get all future notifications. We greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you know anyone who could be going through an immigration case or has a question and they're considering to file for the case, please share our information or forward bookmark our video for your friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate any way we can share information. That's why we're on a live show. Make sure people can avoid problems, really, because 50% of people that call us already have an immigration problem. So having learned so many of these problems, we want to share so you can prevent it for yourself if you're filing for the first time or have not filed yet. Okay. Speaking about that, for first time, if you filed for a marriage case to, let's say, a U.S. citizen, and lately, even though these cases are getting processed faster, but if they have any kind of indication that you have used, you haven't been living together, somehow they can just tell. Okay, they can go send a USCIS officer to where you live, maybe as an apartment or a house. You don't think that just because the USCIS is processing cases faster, that you can just skip on right by. Okay, you gotta be diligent. Okay, don't think that just because you sign your application, your forms, that you provide medical exam, or even if you hired a lawyer, you're like, no big deal, I'm cool, I'll just chill out at this other house. That's not how it works. Okay, if you're gonna file a marriage case, you have to have the intent to be married, which AKA means live together. Okay, that's just one little nugget there. Hopefully that helps. But some of y'all have been thinking to do the opposite, to not live together. And I get it. If you're you're not living together because of work, location, things like that, then that's understandable. Okay, but even if that's the case, you would have more documentation that you're holding a life showing to the world essentially you have a life together. So Yeah, I know. To some of y'all, you might think, well, that's obvious, isn't it? But not to some people. So that's why that's why we have to share that explicitly. Some people think they can just get away with it, and more power to you. Good luck to you, but you really need to watch out. And here's why. Okay, because if USCIS, whether they visit your home or not, or they just see your package, and you're like, there's not much there, and they think there's a indication of fraud, because if it's not a preponderance of evidence, which is a low standard, okay, we don't literally give them every single document, but we give them enough sufficient amount of document. That's about halfway. Okay, clear and convincing evidence is the standard for like right before it gets to beyond reasonable doubt for criminal law. Okay, so clear and convincing, you're thinking about like 50% or more, um, that this couple are legitimately married. We call it bona fide marriage. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That the standard is pretty low. So if you got a notice of intent to deny, and it could be because USCIS is ridiculous, but sometimes USCIS really does look pretty detailed, and not just at your case file, but if you file for someone else or someone else filed for you before, they look at all that. Okay, don't think that just because USCIS is traditionally very slow that they don't have the technology to look at your past file. In fact, the agencies have been talking to each other. So the Department of State, if you had entered US with a visitor visa, and maybe you don't remember exactly what you wrote on that application, but maybe you hire like in America, we call it like, you could think of it as like a consultant. They share with you, they promote that, oh, I worked with a law firm before. I know exactly what's going on. I can do it for you for lower cost. And they actually, from what I hear, they don't actually charge that much lower than we do. So, yeah, I mean, you might as well hire a lawyer in that case. But anyway, or you hire like, I don't know, certain countries, I'm not going to say it out loud, but certain countries tend to hire agents, or so they have shared with us, agents in certain countries. And they say, oh, yeah, but I didn't review the application. I'm like, how did you not review the application? Because we basically role play and act like the immigration officer. Like, how did you not look at this application before you got it submitted, or you signed it? Why would you sign something that you that has your name on it, basically, and you didn't review it? It's kind of like at the airport where they ask you, well, is the bag that you've had with you right now, is that someone else's bag? I mean, they ask something like that, right? So it sounds like such an obvious question, or like, why, like, maybe not obvious, but like, why would you ask that? The obvious answer. But they ask that because maybe you've been in duress, right? Maybe you had a gun pointed to you, and they just want to make sure, they want to ask that question. Okay, so there's a reason why these questions are asked. So anyways, same thing with the immigration application. Don't sign something or don't let it be submitted online if you have not reviewed it. Okay, so I take it with a grain of salt that people are telling me the truth. And some people say, yeah, they just, maybe just say, yeah, I just hired an agent, I didn't look at it. So the most common situation here, folks, and I see a comment question on YouTube. Okay, hey, what's up, Wes? Good to see you. But there's the most common situation for these visitor visa applications, DS 160. People check mark married, right? And if you check mark married, there's a big misconception or misunderstanding that people think, oh, if I check mark married, I'm showing to the government, I'm showing to the visa officer that I'm going to come back to my country. I'm not going to overstay my visa. Okay, don't think the visa officer is that dumb. Okay, they have a pretty good idea. And of course, because of the people have done this in the past, it gives other people a bad opportunity. Okay, it gives, like, some people are denied and they have no idea why they're denied. So please don't do that. Okay, don't mark on the form something incorrect. That's why it's very important that you take a look at your application. Okay, because it can come back to bite you. Okay, and typically the resolution is a waiver. Okay, 601 waiver. You have to have a qualifying relative. The 601 waiver is a waiver application that be used for many different reasons. Not every reason that will be prohibit you from, filing, be able to file a waiver. It's not every single reason has the waiver permitted to file. But for fraud or misrepresentation to get a immigration benefit, this would be the situation. Okay. So it's 601 application. Take a look. Please, please, please do not just send in the application by itself. They need evidence. In fact, on the USCIS website, it has instruction page, a PDF that has a list of, like a small checklist. I mean, our checklist is what we call proven checklist. We get approvals every single time. Now, I know you should do your own due diligence. We've had one case denied, okay, for waiver. And that was because the U.S. citizen spouse was in jail. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Okay. So just practically speaking, the person cannot sign. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So we believe we have a proven checklist and proven process to help people get approved for waivers, but all the while telling the truth. Okay. Most people don't know, but when you file a waiver application, you have to admit that you have done something wrong. And that might be difficult for you to admit it because in some scenarios, it wasn't your fault. There's other things like someone we know, gave birth at the house, not out of wedlock, but at the house. Forgot what you call it, like a home birth. And so there was just issues with getting a birth certificate, the legally correct birth certificate. So that's an example where the applicant himself or herself didn't do anything wrong, but we had to file a waiver. Okay. So that kind of give you an idea. All right. What's going on, Anu? Nice to see you. And I'll be able to stay on for about a couple minutes, about 2 more minutes. I got to head out. You're asking about 765. Oh, I see. I think you asked this similar last Friday because I believe, oh yeah, if your husband, Anu, if your husband's a green card holder now, I don't believe you're gonna be able to get the 765V anymore. This is, by the way, 765V is a work permit based on the most where this abuser spouse had a non-immigrant visa. I don't know if it covers for every single type of visa type, non-immigrant visa, but the most common seems to be H-1B. And you also ask, which, by the way, folks, I'm a advisory board member for an organization here in Houston who do help with domestic violence survivors. Okay, so if you're in that situation or you know someone, whether it's in Houston or somewhere else, please share information to help that person. And I know in this situation, in other scenarios, we tend to not to get involved, but sometimes people who are going through a situation like this just they also tend to not ask for help from what myself and colleagues have seen. So if you know people in that situation, please extend a hand because they really need safety planning. Okay, exit plan for safety planning. It's very, very important. Not just get out of the house nonchalantly. There's a lot of people tend to wait. So if you're gonna wait, you might as well prepare a safety exit plan. Okay, Anu, you've asked about, so the organization I help out with in Houston is called DAYA, DAYA.org, or I think it's DAYA Houston.org. If you know anyone in the Houston area that needs help, or they can send you all a referral to another organization. Okay, Anu, you said page 2.2. You never went outside U.S. since divorce. You think you need to meet the condition for renewal this time? I haven't had any pushback about that. Since you haven't left, I think I recall you said you were thinking about it, but I've had applicants approved still, even if you didn't leave. So I don't think that's a concern. I think more of your concern on your application would be this other thing that he's that he has a green card. Yeah, you would have a better idea, especially I think you have a better idea of how long these EB cases take. So I don't remember which country he's from. I could be India, but yeah, I don't depend. That'll be a while. So maybe it's been a long time already. You also say Safe Horizon turned you down. I know they're in New York because I went to law school in New York, so I have an idea. Unless they have other locations, turned you down 5 years ago. The comment is blocking my face. They said these type of visa is not for you. Visa? You mean the work permit? Which visa are you talking about? The only option is to ask for money from your uncle, and they do 1 million business visa for you. How do they know your uncle? That is weird. 10 months. Oh, it's been processing for 10 months. That is a long time. See if you could submit an inquiry, I suppose, with USCIS in the meantime. I don't know why I know it's weird. Even the marriage cases that have been approved for adjustment of status AOS for green card, they've been approved like faster than the work permit or even the advanced pro. It's wild, right? So don't be alarmed. That's a good thing. Hey, you get the green card, then you don't have to apply separately for EAD or for work permit. The green card, the resident card, it's by itself sufficient for when you go to human resources and they ask you to fill out an I-9. Okay, so you'll be good to go on that front. Okay, I have to jump out in a few seconds, but okay, Anna, you said other visa types. I wonder why. Oh, I thought you did apply for VAWA. Okay, maybe I think you did chat with our team before, but yeah, that's interesting. I wonder. Oh, right, because VAWA, yeah, because he was an H-1B holder back then. That's interesting. And now, but now you think he's a resident card holder. I think, yeah, I believe it dates back to when, at that time, what status your ex-spouse had. So, yeah, even though he has a green card now. Yeah, that's a tough situation, but but it sounds like you might have some kind of work experience. So, in the meantime, we can take a look at that. Okay, if you want to call in for a question on that employment based. But I think you're pretty familiar with all of them already. All right, but we'll be here if you have any questions. Okay, folks, we'll be on live tomorrow. Um, um, oh, Candy, I did reply. I didn't reply to you first, actually, Candy. Um, but Fijnatia, I'll get to you. I'll get to you too. Well, Candy, my quick responses, if you're still on, is that when they're reusing the biometrics, I'm not familiar if they actually put on the USCIS website reused biometrics. I'll have to ask the team if they've seen that, but it just seemed, to be honest, it just seems to be honest, a useless update. The online USCIS is not that wonderful, so just keep in mind that it's okay. It might be okay if they don't actually stay reused biometrics, because that's a new thing they've been doing during pandemic or post pandemic as well. So I suspect that they haven't updated their systems. Okay, as you can tell, USCIS is usually slow in things like this. Okay, but yeah, if they stay to reuse, I mean, I'd hold up. Yeah, I mean, it's still on December 28th when you filed for it. So, and depending, of course, on which field office it is, I know Houston and Dallas are fairly quick these days, but yeah, just it may depend on where you live. Okay, so hopefully it helps. It sounds like you're still on, so you heard that. And at least a good thing is that you're not waiting for this biometric status update because you need to get your EAD or work permit. You already have resident card, so that's good. Okay, Figantia. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Figantia, you filed citizenship. You filed citizenship to December 28th also? Man, you guys filed on the same day. The same person? No? Okay. That's pretty interesting. And you got a letter that I don't know if I don't know if you had a follow-up to your question, so I don't think I see it. Oh, yeah, you say, "Yeah, same person?" Okay. Alright, I was gonna say, I was like, "That sounds too familiar." Okay, alright, hey, I've been on for 35 minutes, sorry, I gotta roll out to my team meeting. I really appreciate you hanging on and, tuning in, so until next time, please save your questions for tomorrow or welcome to give us a call. We'll see if we point you in the right direction, okay? Y'all have a wonderful day. Take care now.